Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
The program, known as DACA, is being rescinded.
Are you, the Department of Homeland Security, considering a new initiative that would separate children from their parents?
Across Tennessee, protesters are marching to the state capitol.
Knoxville joined countless other cities across the U.S. protesting.
Here in Memphis, demonstrators gathered for the second day to protest the ruling.
Against that backdrop, Tennessee passing a new law that could strip some protesters of their voting rights.
Tennessee is one of the most pro-life states in America.
I really think, Doctor, you want to treat this like you treat the flu, right?
I used to think that this was my town. What a stupid thing to think. I hear you biting off a breakdown. I myself am on the brink. I used to want to be a real man. I don't know what that even means. Now I just want you in my arms again, and we can search each other's dreams. I know you're tired and you ain't sleeping well. Uninspired, likely man as hell. But wherever you are, I hope the high road leads you home again.
You ask, will we fight? Yes, we will fight!
I heard enough of the white man's blues. I've sang enough about myself. So if you're looking for some bad news, you can find it somewhere else. Last year was the son of a bitch for nearly everyone we know. But I ain't fighting with you down in the ditch. I'll meet you up here on the road. I know you're tired and you ain't sleeping well. Uninspired, likely man as hell. But wherever you are, I hope the high road leads you home again to the world you want to live in. We'll ride the ship down, dumping buckets overboard. There can't be more of them than us. There can't be more. I know you're tired, you ain't sleeping well. Uninspired, likely mad as hell. But wherever you are, I hope the high road leads you home again to the world you want to live in. To the world you want to live in.
Thousands of people are mobilizing all around the country. We need to vote. We need to vote like our rights depend on it.
Hello and welcome to Ballots and Ballads. I'm Paula Williams from Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm the president of the ACLU of Tennessee board. It is so wonderful to have you with us. Even though we're at a safe distance, we're still in this together. Let me be the first to thank you for sharing in this celebration, whether you voted early or are voting very soon. I want to thank the members of the board of the ACLU, as well as the members of the staff who work hard on the critical mission of ACLU and on creating this wonderful event. Remember, you still have time left to make your voice heard. Early voting ends on October 29, and Election Day is November 3rd. Thank you for generously purchasing a ticket or joining us as a sponsor of this event. Your contribution to Ballots and Ballads will keep our critical voting rights work charging forward long after the 2020 election. And future initiatives will focus on expanding access to the ballot box, including voting rights restoration for individuals with felony convictions and pursuing same-day voter registration. Critical work indeed. Thank you again for being with us, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. Now, please let me introduce ACLU of Tennessee Executive Director, Hetty Weinberg.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you for your leadership, especially during these uncertain times. Good evening. I too am delighted to welcome you to Ballots and Ballads and to spend some time together. Yes, I wish we were in the same physical space, but for now I know we are together in spirit, and we will hope, we will vote, and we will agitate because our rights depend on it. No question, this has been a rough 7 months. Actually, the last 4 years have been rough. The relentless attacks on our fundamental civil liberties and civil rights have been nonstop. And the ACLU of Tennessee and our colleagues across the country and at the national office on a daily basis are confronting and challenging these unremitting attacks. What we have become even more aware of during these last few months is the importance of community, of the need to stay vigilant, the need to stand up, and the need to speak out. Eligible Tennessee voters have been voting by mail, and they are casting their ballots in droves during early voting, which ends in 2 days. And on November 3rd, in 8 days, our voices will be heard loud and clear as the last group of voters go to the polls. Before we begin, I want to pause for a moment to remember to celebrate the lives and legacies of Congressman John Lewis and Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Both were our North Stars. They were visionaries who each in their own way fought for justice and equality. They taught us, they reminded us that protecting and advancing fairness and freedom requires patience, tenacity, and a lifetime commitment. And they were in it for the long haul. They were freedom fighters for life. I also want to give a shout out to another group of freedom fighters, our awesome ACLU of Tennessee staff. Their analytic skills, their creativity, their compassion, coupled with their contagious enthusiasm, make them the best colleagues anyone could ever have. Tennesseans are so fortunate that they are on the front lines. For the last 7 months, we've been working remotely, and frankly, working harder than ever before. We've been filing lawsuits, testifying, lobbying at the state and local level, researching and drafting policy reports, and initiating awareness campaigns, all with the goal of dismantling inequities and advancing fairness and freedom, justice and equality. In the last 7 months, the public has become more aware because of the COVID-19 pandemic and its disproportionate impact on communities of color, and because of the brutal police killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and many other Black and brown individuals, that we must eradicate systemic racism and dismantle white supremacy. Look, systemic change requires many steps, but it begins at the ballot box. There is a domino effect between the council people, state legislators, congresspeople, U.S. senators that we elect, and the civil rights and civil liberties they discard, they protect, or they advance. We must vote like our rights depend on it, because they do. Thank you for supporting our Vote Like Your Rights Depend on It campaign. Later tonight, Policy Director Brandon Tucker will join us to describe our exciting campaign. The ACLU Tennessee team is also waging battles for reproductive justice, improved prison conditions, and access to health care for those individuals incarcerated, money bail reform, police accountability and transparency, LGBTQ equality, freedom of speech and religious freedom, and much more. I think all of us will agree that this is the most contentious and consequential election in our lifetime. And yet, While it is important to note the gravity of making our voices heard at the ballot box, it is also important to celebrate our victories and voting power, and that's what we're doing together tonight. Thank you again for joining us at Ballots and Ballads. We hope you will enjoy the evening. And now, please welcome Nashville's own John Early.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me tonight. Thank you, ACLU of Tennessee. I wanna touch the earth, I wanna break it in my hands, I wanna grow something wild and unruly. Mom, not now, I'm gonna sleep on the hard ground, in the comfort of your arms, on a pillow of blue bonnets. And Mom, not now, I'm working stars. Oh, it sounds so good to me. I said, cowboy, take me. Mom! Jesus, Mom! Mom, I'm doing a show right now for the ACLU of Tennessee. Okay, this is work, actually. God. So, I know what you're thinking. I was playing guitar. The reason you kept hearing it is because that was a backing track. That was a backing track, which is kind of a classic live performance convention. The backing track, okay, it's there just to enhance what I'm doing. Voice crack, something's wrong with the audio. It's not my voice. But the backing track is there to just enhance what I'm naturally doing. You know, it was enhancing what I was doing kind of live with my fingers, with my extensive knowledge of music theory, music history. So I was playing guitar. Sorry about my mom. She's great. She's just not in the industry. You know, she doesn't really get it. She doesn't get what I do, you know. And even though I'm staying in my parents' basement right now, you know, she doesn't understand that this is work. I'm on the clock right now. You know, this is a gig. This is a job. So please forgive her, and we'll move right along. My name is John Early. Gosh, that song, "Cowboy Take Me Away" by the Chicks, the artist formerly known as the Dorsey Chicks. That song, I used to listen to that song when I was growing up in Nashville, Tennessee, as a little gay-ass teenager. You know, driving in my car with the windows down. Oh, I used to blast that song in my mom's Honda Civic. Mom, if you're listening, if you're still listening, I did not have my most formative sexual experiences in your car. I did not. I wouldn't do that to you. But yeah, that song really makes me feel so proud to be a Tennessean. You know, like it was written by Nashville's own Marcus Hummon, I'm pretty sure. Don't look it up, please don't fact check me. But yeah, I love that song. It really does make me feel so proud to be a Tennessean, but not as proud to be a Tennessean as I am tonight performing for the ACLU of Tennessee. It really just, it's very meaningful to me. You know, I know it's probably an uphill battle in this state, but that's why we need you here, ACLU. Thank you for being here and making your presence known and for protecting our rights, especially our voting rights. You know, a lot of people say, John, how can you be from Tennessee? You give off such a kind of coastal elite essence, a kind of effortless coastal aura and essence. You know, John, they say, John, I can really imagine you in the West Village, you know, of New York City on a crisp autumn day with a pashmina and a hot coffee, just late to something, you know. But no, if I'm not from Tennessee, how come my first concert was Shania Twain? Okay? If I'm not from Tennessee, how come my second concert was Shania Twain? If I'm not from Tennessee, how come both of those concerts were from the same tour? It's true. To be fair, My sister and I did win the second set of tickets at random at a raffle at Hollywood 27 in the 100 Oaks area. We still did, of course, choose to go, and we loved every minute of it. We loved Shania, even though we had just seen the same concert mere months before. I love you, Shania. We love you, Shania. You know, I have to say, I really don't miss performing for live audiences. I don't miss having people in the room with me. I don't miss subtly reading the cues of the audience, getting feedback, helping me understand in the moment whether I'm doing well or not. I don't miss the feeling of collective joy and community that live performing used to bring me. I actually prefer this. I prefer kind of making a fool out of myself in a total vacuum. No, I'm of course kidding. This is hell. I'm let me be clear. I'm honored to be here tonight, but just to perform to my phone, it's an indignity that I really can't quite describe to you. I know this is a nonpartisan event, but I actually kind of I personally identify as progressive. It can take a long time as a Tennessean to kind of come into your identity as a progressive, to come of age as a progressive. For instance, I just learned that taxes aren't a witch. Pause for laughs. Let the audience at home laugh. You can't hear the note. They're absolutely laughing. And you'll 5, 4, 3, 2. The laugh is cresting. Come in on the end of the crest. And no, but truly, I just learned that taxes aren't a witch. Like, if you throw your taxes in a pond, they'll sink. They're not a witch. Yeah, as Tennesseans and honestly just as Americans, we're kind of brainwashed to be suspicious of like government intervention, state intervention into crises. It's a very kind of get off my porch mentality we have here. Kind of a get your hands off my toxic, unbreathable air. I'll deal with it. I'll handle it. I got this. I'll reverse climate change with my freedom. Kind of this like, get your hands off my healthcare. Don't come anywhere near my healthcare, big government. I actually like paying $1,200 a month for Cobra. I like the endless customer service calls with the fine reps at Cobra. Get your hand off my education, big government. I want to pay $200,000 for a BFA in drama that ultimately just funnels me into the restaurant industry. But now, now in a pandemic, when the stimulus checks are not coming in the mail, when there is no sense of relief coming whatsoever, when people aren't wearing masks because it's their God-given right, because masks are gay, aren't you feeling it a little bit now? Aren't you feeling it more, this kind of need of like, please intervene? Where are you, government? Please intervene. I was kidding about what I said before about intervening. Just please do something now. Where are you? Please help. I should go. This has absolutely been too long, but I do want to say before I go, again, absolutely nonpartisan event, okay? I'm merely quoting this person. This is not an endorsement of this person in any way. But there's someone right now who happens to be running for Senate in Tennessee. Her name's Marquita Bradshaw. And she says this thing that I think is so genius, which is like, Tennessee, how can you call it a red state? How can you call it a blue state? How can you call it any sort of state? We're 49th in voting. We might even be last in voting. Again, didn't do the research, but like, when you're that low in voting, when there are more non-voters in your state than Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Socialists combined, you can't call yourself any one thing, and it is only through voting, just to get on my high horse here, it is only through voting, that we can really express ourselves as a state, where we can become something else, something new. Again, not saying what we should become. I'm just saying it's possible. So it's not just, I know everyone watching this tonight is voting. Okay, I know you voted. That's probably because you're privileged enough to vote. It's important to remember that all the non-voters in the state, they're not voting, to make some sort of statement. They're probably not voting because they're working 2 jobs. They're probably not voting because the government is not meeting their basic needs. So let's remember, yes, we must vote in this election, but we also need to listen to non-voters and convince non-voters, reach out to non-voters and get them to make their voice heard in the polls, because we will only be able to reflect who we are up there in the legislation and in the larger, those other branches, whatever, I don't know, if we have everyone voting. So it's not just about you voting, it's about getting non-voters into it this election. And it's of course about thanking the ACLU for protecting our right to vote. Thank you so much. I hope this wasn't too long. I love you, Tennessee, and I love you, ACLU. Thank you for having me. Oh, my name's John Early. Vote early. Vote early?
Good evening. I'm Brandon Tucker, and I'm the Policy Director for the ACLU of Tennessee. Thank you for joining us and supporting our very important Vote Like Your Rights Depend on It campaign. Whether you're tuning in tonight, sharing our posts on social media, or volunteering for this campaign to contact voters across the state, or some combination of all of those, thank you for your support. Let's be clear. Tennessee suppresses the vote, particularly those of Black and brown people. Simultaneously, our state has not treated this pandemic with the caution it requires. And this virus has disproportionately impacted Black and brown communities. Tennesseans of color are contracting COVID and dying of it at higher rates than other groups. You put an election and a global pandemic together, and suddenly voters, especially those with underlying conditions and from impacted communities, face an impossible choice between their health and their voice. That's why we launched this campaign. A simple goal has guided our campaign. Make sure voters have the information they need to vote safely in this election, whether they're voting by mail, voting early, or on election day. In pursuit of this goal, we've reached out to more than 100,000 voters across the state. We're advertising online and over the radio, sending mail and handwritten postcards, texting and calling voters directly. We focused on counties with sizable communities of color. Not just in cities, but also in small towns across the state. Places where there are not hundreds of organizations getting the word out about this election. This campaign has been about serving those who are disproportionately impacted by voter suppression and the pandemic. We have not done this work alone. We couldn't do this work alone. Nearly 125 people have volunteered for this campaign since September. Because of them, we've been in touch with over 100,000 registered voters in our targeted counties. We've reached out to folks with autoimmune disorders who did not know that they were eligible to vote by mail. We've helped military service members request absentee ballots and made sure thousands of voters across the state knew where they could vote early in their county. This effort is part of a larger fight, though, one that extends beyond this election, against a state that tries to restrict access to the ballot box at every turn. Later tonight, we'll be joined by Ben Lay. He was our lead plaintiff in our successful lawsuit, Lay v. Goins, which won a guarantee for Tennesseans that those with underlying conditions that make them more vulnerable to COVID-19 or who live with people with such an illness can vote by mail. But it's incredible that we even had to sue the state in the first place. And that's not all this state does to suppress the vote. In 2016, Tennessee ranked 46th in voter turnout. There are more than 400,000 individuals in our state who've lost their right to vote because of a felony conviction. We require photo ID at the polls. Our voter registration deadline is 30 days before an election, long before individuals have even considered casting a ballot. And again, disproportionately, it impacts communities of color. And Black and brown people are overrepresented amongst those whose voting rights have been taken and those without a photo ID. Your rights and the rights of your community are on the ballot this November. So it's critical that you vote, and vote safely. Our elected officials can either bring about bold reform on issues like free speech, policing, healthcare, and voting rights, or they can drag us in the wrong direction. Regardless, it starts at the ballot box. So visit aclu-tn.org/vote and make a plan to cast your ballot safely. And most importantly, vote like your rights depend on it.
My name is Ben Lay, and my wife Joy and I are the plaintiffs in Lay v. Goins, the ACLU of Tennessee's lawsuit that expanded access to absentee voting for thousands of Tennesseans during the pandemic. I'm a two-time cancer survivor with a disability, and my wife Joy has a medical condition that leaves her immunocompromised. To protect our health, we quarantined completely throughout the pandemic, and the only way we would safely be able to vote in 2020 is with a mail-in ballot. But while most states allow any eligible voter to cast an absentee ballot, in Tennessee, only voters who fit an extremely narrow set of criteria qualified to vote by mail. And fear of contracting COVID-19 wasn't one of the reasons the state accepted. That meant that during the pandemic, Joy, myself, and the vast majority of voters would be forced to risk our health and vote in person or not vote at all. So, Joy and I worked with the ACLU of Tennessee and the ACLU Voting Rights Project, and together we sued the state to let people vote by mail. This spring and summer, our fight worked its way to the Tennessee State Supreme Court, the highest court in our state. The hearing itself, ironically held distantly over Zoom due to COVID-19 concerns, was a surreal experience. Joy and I are the Lay of Lay v. Goins. Obviously, we were aware that our names are inextricably attached to this case. But it was quite a different feeling when your name is said aloud, repeatedly, in the highest court in the state, when the stakes couldn't be any higher. As brilliant legal minds debated whether or not the people of Tennessee could cast their ballots without being forced to risk their lives. But ultimately, after each new and sometimes challenging feeling, this case has thrown our way. We always arrived back to the knowledge that we remain steadfast in our fight. We are both proud to have lent our names, our stories, and our lives in this one unique way, the ACLU's fight to uphold the cornerstone of our democracy, we the people's right to vote. When we heard that the state Supreme Court had ruled in our favor, affirming that we and others with underlying health conditions and those that care for them can vote by mail during this once-in-a-century pandemic, it was bittersweet. I'm not sure that I've ever felt so many contradictory emotions at one time in my life. We were so relieved that we would be able to vote safely, and we were so happy for those that we were able to protect, but we were also extremely saddened for those that we left behind, those who still had no safe way to vote. We believe that no American, underlying health conditions or not, should ever be faced with that most impossible choice on Election Day. Do I stay home to protect my health and the health of my loved ones, or do I risk my life to exercise my constitutional right to vote? COVID-19 has shone a bright light on the cracks in our institutional systems, including access to the ballot box. Tennessee can and must do better in the future. But our eyes are forward, and we know the fight continues, and we're still so happy to have decided to be a part of this case and this moment. It's been a life-changing experience. Thanks to the ACLU of Tennessee, Joy and I were both able to safely vote by mail this fall, and we voted like our rights depended on it. But the work won't stop on Election Day, and our case has invigorated me to seek out more opportunities to contribute to the fight and the cause. This has truly been an experience that we'll never forget.
Hi folks, I'm Jason Isbell. This is Amanda Shires. Happy to be performing for the ACLU today. Try to help keep voting safe and easy for everybody out there who wants to vote. We're going to do a couple songs for you that seem appropriate. What have I done to help? What have I done to help somebody save me? What have I done to help? What have I done to help and not myself? What have I done to help? What have I done to help somebody save me? What have I done to help? What have I done to help and not myself? I thought I was alone in the world till my memories gathered around me in the night. I thought I was strong until I finally had to fight. I kept my head down, showed up to work on time and watched my appetite. You put the money in the mattress, lock the doors at night, and we'd all be alright. But what have I done to help? What have I done to help somebody save me? What have I done to help? What have I done to help and not myself? What have I done to help? What have I done to help somebody save me? What have I done to help? What have I done to help and not myself? See, I've made mistakes that I can't erase. Some of the love I've lost will not come back to me. Broke my word, lied on the Bible just to feel a little free. She didn't deserve, nobody ever deserved, but I cut anchor and I drifted out to sea. And you found me busted, and somehow you trusted I was not what I could be. What have I done to help? What have I done to help somebody save me? What have I done to help? What have I done to help and not myself? What have I done to help? What have I done to help somebody save me? What have I done to help? What have I done to help and not myself? Climb to safety, you and me and the baby. And we send our thoughts and prayers for loved ones on the ground. As the days went by, we just stopped looking down, down, down. Now the world's on fire, we just climb higher. No longer bothered by the smoke and sound. The good people suffer, and the heart gets tougher. Nothing given, nothing found. What have I done to help? What have I done to help somebody save me? What have I done to help? What have I done to help and not myself? What have I done to help? What have I done to help somebody save me? What have I done to help? What have I done to help and not myself? What have I done to help? Thank you. Remember Katie White? She jumped the fence that night, ran away in tears. Her sister drank her beer.
We were just 18. The older girls could be so mean. I was talking just to talk.
And you were still in shock. And all I could think to say was everything's gonna be okay. It's gonna be alright. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. What are you gonna do?
It's hard to even say the truth. This has been the hardest year.
Is it even legal here?
I'm trying not to think of names. And will you look at me the same? Reasons why is a crystal, is a butterfly.
And all I could think to say was everything's gonna be okay. It's gonna be alright. I'm on your side. I'm on your side.
And no one has to know. The scars won't even show. At least that's what I've heard. No bigger than a baby.
No bigger than a baby.
No bigger than a baby.
No bigger than a baby bird.
Do you think God still sees me coming out of this twilight sleep? I'm not sure who I am, staring into my empty head.
And all I
could think to say
was everything's gonna be okay. It's gonna be alright. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. Thank you so much. That was What Have I Done to Help and the Problem. Thank you very much for watching. Please support the ACLU if you can.
Well, good evening, friends. I'm Fiona Prine, and I'm a Tennessee voter, and I'm voting like my rights depend on it. When we vote, our rights are on the ballot. Elections are about choosing the people who make decisions that impact us in our everyday lives. From whether or not we have access to abortion care, to whether individuals with felony convictions who have completed their sentences can vote, to how police departments are run, and what happens to protesters when they speak out against abusive government practices. The most impactful way to express your opinion and my opinion about things like that is to vote. We have to vote like our rights depend on it. We know that communities of color not only face the worst systemic barriers in the ballot box, but they also suffer from the worst effects of COVID-19 and at disproportionate rates. This means that this election, the most historically disenfranchised Americans are feeling the worst of voter suppression and the worst of this global pandemic. And that concerns me greatly. We are 8 days away from this election. You can vote early in Tennessee until October 29th, or you can vote on Election Day. Make your plan now about where and when you are going to vote. ACLU Tennessee's project, Vote Like Your Rights Depend on It, have educated and empowered tens of thousands of Tennesseans. The ACLU Tennessee will continue to work beyond this election to increase access to the ballot box, focusing on voter registration, voter restoration, same-day registration, and other initiatives. Thank you, ACLU Tennessee, for continuing your hard work and dedication to protecting the rights of all Tennesseans.
Hey everybody, Adia Victoria here from Nashville, Tennessee. I first want to give a big thank you to the ACLU for inviting me to share my songs and just speak to y'all today. I know that we are in the midst of some very strange and trying times. I know that you've probably felt the same fear and anxiety that I have felt not only the past year, but the past 4 years since this administration has been in power. But the things that I've leaned into since quarantine began have been my own voice, my own ability to speak back to power. What we are witnessing is our voice is being taken from us, and the lies coming at us at such a quick pace that it feels like the truth is a whisper in the face of screaming and shouting. But we have to remember at times like this, especially at times like this, that the truth carries its own weight and that the truth has a way of slicing through lies. And as difficult as it is right now to find your voice and to feel connected to one another, this is the time when your voice is needed the most. I hope that you are registered to vote. I hope that you are ready to stand in lines. I hope that you are ready to stand up and speak out when and where it's needed the most. It might mean having difficult conversations with your family, with your loved ones, but understand that your silence right now is complicity. So I'm urging all of you to stand up, find your voice, and fight. 2, 3, 4.
You've been running from the ghost you keep hidden in your past. The veil before your face is falling, and it's falling fast. I won't go blindly in the night. I will drag you to the light. I sit up to the mountain, told the mountain, say my name. And if you're tired of walking, let the children lead the way. 'Cause I fear I won't leave you, won't let you slip away. Come what may, we're gonna find a way.
The South gotta change. The South gotta change. You told a lie for so long, you're a stranger to yourself. You're all dressed up and make believe to be somebody else. So listen closely when I say that the truth would set you free. I stood up to the mountain, told the mountain, say my name. And if you're tired of walking, let the children lead the way. 'Cause I love you, I won't leave you, I won't let you slip away. Come with me, we're gonna find a way. The South gotta change. The South gotta change. Least of all, when power lets him hide from what he is ashamed. But your walls are falling down, so you gotta face me now. I stood up to the mountain, told the mountain, say my name. And if you're tired of walking, let the children lead the way. 'Cause I love you, I won't leave you, won't let you slip away. Come with me, we're gonna find a way. I stood up to the mountain, told the mountain, say my name. And if you're tired of walking, let the children lead the way. 'Cause I love you, I won't leave you, won't let you slip away. Come with me, we're gonna find a way. The South gotta change. South gotta change, it's gotta change. South gotta change, it's gotta change, gotta change. All of the fires began by their hand, spread hotly into my family's land. My mind is alive, it freezes and fight, but my body knows what to do. I sing, I dance, and still I am alive in all my blues. Alive in all my blues. The violence, it carried through the years and ran wild. The wind was heavy with fear, but I stand in the path of rage and wrath. Move mountains when I do. I sing, I dance, and still I am alive in all my blues. Alive in all my blues. strange times, but we've been here before. Only thing different, here's a devil we can't ignore. So don't turn your eyes, burn every light, and cry out to the moon. I sing, I dance, and still I am alive in all my blues. I sing, I dance, and still I am alive in all my blues. I sing, I dance, and still I am alive in all my blues.
Wow, what an incredible evening. As our program comes to a close, I want to thank Jason, Adia, John, Fiona, and Ben for joining with the ACLU of Tennessee and using their voices to ensure that as many eligible Tennessee voters as possible cast their ballots. I also want to thank our generous sponsors and donors and ACLU Tennessee Board of Directors and staff. So very grateful to all of you. Our democratic values hang in the balance up and down the ballot, from racial justice and policing reform to freedom of speech and reproductive rights to LGBT equality and fair treatment of immigrants and refugees. In a democracy, our vote is our voice. Every vote matters, including yours. Thank you again for your support, your tenacity, and your trust in ACLU and our work. And remember, in Tennessee, early voting ends in 2 days on October 29th, and Election Day is November 3rd. If you have not yet voted, make your voting plan now. And remember, vote like your rights depend on it.